Okay, I was on the Line 6 Helix Stadium Family Facebook page, and Barry Edwards said something the other day, and I was like, this is awesome. I've thought of the problem before, but never thought of this solution. And this is not a miracle solution, but it's definitely a tool to maybe put in your tool bag when you're developing tones in the Helix, the Pod Go, the HX Stomp. It says Helix cab auditioning tip. I've mentioned this idea before, but it's worth repeating. This workflow has been a huge time saver when auditioning cabs in the Helix. Yes, it takes some time to set up on the front end, which is what I'm doing now, and I want to bring you along and show you how I'm doing it. But once it's done, you'll wonder why you didn't do it sooner. The issue for me has always been an inconsistencies between Line 6 default cab settings. Different mics, mic placements, distances, and EQ cuts make it hard to hear the actual character of each cab related to each other, right? You go to one cab and it's got a 57, on the cap edge, and then you go to the next one, it's got the 906 and it's all the way on the other side. It's angled at a 45 and it has a 10K cut on it. So it's kind of hard to know what is the mic placement and what's the cab. And sometimes you just want to know the difference between the cabs. So here's what I do. Barry says, I set every cab the same. That's basically the general tip. Now he has his settings, and I'm actually using those settings because that's what I would want to do too. Almost the same. He sets every cab at an SM57. I would pick that one too because it's got a lot of top end, and then you can always dial back. I wouldn't want to start with a darker, but you might. There's no rules here. But I myself would want to hear a brighter sound, and then I can dial back rather than having a darker microphone and wondering if it can get brighter. Anyways, he sets his on a 45 degree angle. Later I saw in the comments he does that to take out some of the high ends. I'm going to leave mine straight because I want to hear all the highs. Cap edge, so the distance, he puts it right on the cap edge, which I'll show you is not the same on every, at least the picture of every cabinet cone. Sometimes the cap edge is different. You would think it would all be, most of them seem to be 2.4, but some of them are 3 and some of them are 1.5. They're different, and they're even picture different. But anyways, I guess because each speaker would be different. 1 inch distance, so you're going to get, the further away you get, the less bass response you're going to get. So I would want to keep it real close to hear all the bass, knowing that if I like it, but it's a little too much bass in it, then I can pull the mic away. And no low or high cuts. That way you're hearing everything. Doesn't mean that's where you want it set permanently, but if everything is set that way, then you can pay attention to the cab itself and not everything that was done to it. And it's pretty fun. It gets you a consistent kind of something objective to kind of measure what these different cabs are doing. And this is what I'm doing. So let me show you the process. Oh, I forgot to say, he also sets it at a factory default. I'm setting mine as a user default. One, because it's quicker, and I'll show you, it kind of grays it out. I think you just have to have more steps to make it into a factory default, but user default for me, same way. Let me show you what I'm doing. All right, real quick before we move on, let me just tell you, every worship resource product I've ever made, there's a 50% discount. Everything ever. There's a discount, and there's a countdown. It says 2 days, 9 hours, 4 minutes, and 46 seconds. But by the time you read it, it'll be less, so you got to go click the link down below. What are you talking about, Jimmy? Well, I put it into tiers for you. If you want the guitarist bundle, you get everything, every expanse pack, every Sunday ready pack for every unit. The complete Pod Go course, also the worship tone course, which is coming soon. I've been writing that. Tier 2 is the worship leader bundle. What do you get? You get the worship ministry blueprint internship. This is my biggest flagship thing I have for developing an internship at your church. It's everything I use. You can use it. You can implement an internship right now and start creating a pipeline of worship leaders, which is what we need. You also get the digital worship planner and both ambient worship pads, volume 1 and 2. Boom, boom. 50% off. Over $390 value, $195. Over $470, $235 right now. But you gotta do it by here. Or tier 3, the everything bundle. It's both of these together, basically, including the worship tone course that's coming soon. If you're like, Jimmy, that's too much. I don't have that much money to spend. I get it. I don't either. Support 50 will get you 50% off anything in the store while this timer lasts, okay? In case you want a single Sunday Ready pack, or you want one expanse pack, or you just want the Pod Go course, or you will just want the internship for your church. Right now, use this code on anything while this timer is still going, 50% off. Let's get back to the video. Okay, so what I've done here is I've gotten this far on my list right here, going through each cab. I was playing with different amps, Manager and Rocker. I figure if you are playing through something that is more dirty, then you're hearing a lot more frequencies of how all the distortion interacts with the cab. But you can also try it with a clean one. I was using this amp cab to kind of just go through and test all the different amps, just having fun a minute ago, because right here I've recorded a loop. So I'm gonna let you hear what some of this sounds like while I'm also doing this. So you can see here, I started up here, I put everything on a 57, cap edge, distance 0. There's the cap edge, 0 degrees, not on a 45, no low cut, no high cut. And then as I go down, you can see, did you see that microphone move? The microphone moved. Did you see that? You can also do this with your arrows on your keyboard. It makes it a little faster, but the position is still cap edge. So you might see that US Princess. Oh, still cap edge, but the microphone moved. I was talking about that earlier. So I got down to the jazz rivet. I need to put this distance down to 1 inch. Then I right click and you can do factory default. Factory default is not grayed out right now because I've already done this, but like user default. Let's go to the next one. I must have just messed up on that one. Let's go to the Mandarin 30. I've already done that one. Looks like I actually got further down the list than I thought I had. Okay, position 1 inch. Oh, actually, no, I need to find the cap center. Cap edge is at 3.3 on this one. So that's weird. 57, boom. Oh, no high cut. And now I'm gonna right click. You see factory default is grayed out. So that's why I just do user default. If I make another change, factory default comes back up. Boom, it just takes time doing this. Let's find where the cap edge is for this one. Happens to be right there. Distance, no cuts, good, right click. User default. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna shut up for a little bit. And I've got a loop here that I recorded with my guitar. It might be a little quiet without the amp going, but here we go. You can also scroll down through the different amps and hear what they sound like. I'm gonna leave it on something a little more dirty, like I had it, this Mandarin rocker, and because I just wanna hear what this distortion sounds like going through these different cabs. So let's go back up to the top, and then I'll keep going, and we're gonna finish this little project, and you can kind of hear how it sounds. If you're bored with this, just go try it on your own. Yeah, let's dig into it. All right, I'm caught up to where I'm gonna keep going, but I did note that if you're looking for something bright, this Fullerton right here seems to be the most bright, piercing amp. So if you're just if you're having trouble cutting through and it just seems too muffled, that's not usually the problem with modelers. Usually people say that it's too harsh, but this is the harshest right here. So you can go play with that one. All right, I'm gonna keep it going and I'm gonna change these until we finish the list. I'm about a little over halfway through, so let's do this. That's one of the darkest. All right, we're getting down into bass cabs there, so I'm going to stop right there. All right, what did you think? Let me go back between what I feel like was the darkest and what is the brightest, and let's hear that. I love this one. This one's usually my all-time favorite, the Cartog Gov. It just has a sweet spot, and you can obviously dial it in. You know, pull the bass away if it's a little too bassy. You can bring down the high cut if you want. I have a couple videos on how to use your high and low cuts so that it doesn't sound fizzy. You can go check those out. I'll try to link it, but you know, I always forget. But you can go search it on my channel, high, low cuts, hey, worship leader. Let's compare, let's test some stuff. I'm gonna leave it on this cab and maybe try some different amps. I'm gonna compare it first to this IR that I said that I like, but I have no idea, I've never tried it. So let's try it. Let's just have some fun. Okay, too much fun to be had right there. Let me know what you think about this tip. Is it going to help you dial in the tones that you want, that's in your head? Let me know. Hey, take a look at those presets. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.